I thought Easter dinner would be a chance to finally connect with my in-laws, but instead, it became the night they unraveled my secret wealth and turned my marriage into a battlefield. My name's Elena Vasquez, 34, and I live in Asheville, North Carolina, with my husband Marcus, 36. We've been married for 4 years, together for 7, and I'd describe our relationship as solid, but not without its cracks. Marcus is a high school history teacher, warm and idealistic, with a knack for making everyone feel heard. I'm a freelance graphic designer, or at least that's what I tell people. In truth, I've been quietly amassing a real estate empire. Since I was 22, a secret I've kept even from Marcus. My portfolio, spread across rental properties in Raleigh, Charlotte, and a few beachfront condos in Wilmington, is worth about $6 million. I'm not flashy. I drive a used Subaru, wear thrift store sweaters, and keep my finances locked in a password-protected spreadsheet Marcus doesn't know exists. I grew up in a working-class Puerto Rican family in Miami, where money was always tight. My mom worked 2 jobs, and my dad was a mechanic who taught me to hustle. At 18, I started flipping houses with a small inheritance from my abuela, learning the game through late-night research and risky loans. By 25, I was a silent partner in a property management company. I never told Marcus because I didn't want him to see me as a rich girl or feel emasculated. Plus, his family, his parents, Linda, 62, and Greg, 65, and his sister, Tara, 30, always seemed to judge me as not good enough for their golden boy. They're old-money Southern Baptists from Charleston, South Carolina, with a crumbling estate and a habit of hinting I'm too urban for Marcus. Linda especially has this way of smiling while delivering backhanded compliments about my colorful upbringing. We visit Charleston for holidays, and Easter 2025 was no different. Marcus wanted to host at our Asheville home, but Linda insisted on their drafty mansion, complete with peeling wallpaper and a dining room table that seats 12. I dreaded these trips. Tara, who's unemployed and lives with her parents, always corners me to complain about her exes, while Greg grills me about my little art projects. This year, though, I felt optimistic. Marcus and I had been talking about starting a family, and I thought maybe I could finally win them over. Easter Sunday started innocently enough. The Charleston air was humid, the azaleas blooming, and the house smelled of ham and Linda's overly sweet cornbread. I wore a modest yellow dress, hoping to blend in, while Marcus chatted with Greg about baseball. Tara was on her phone, and Linda bustled around, micromanaging the table settings. I offered to help, but she waved me off with, "Oh, Elena, you just relax. You're our guest." Dinner was at 3 p.m., and the tension was subtle at first. Greg asked about my work, and I gave my usual vague answer about designing logos. Tara, scrolling Instagram, suddenly looked up. "Wait, Elena, is this you?" She held up her phone, showing a local real estate blog post about Asheville's rising property moguls. My name was mentioned alongside a photo from a charity auction I'd attended last year. My stomach dropped. I'd been careful to keep my name off most public records, but this post had slipped through. Marcus laughed. "What's this about? Elena, you flipping houses now?" His tone was teasing, but his eyes searched mine. I forced a smile. "Oh, that's just a mix-up. I helped a friend with a project." Tara frowned. "It says you own, multiple properties. That's weird." Linda's head snapped up. "Properties? What kind?" I tried to redirect. "It's nothing, really. Can you pass the rolls?" But Tara was relentless. "No, it says you're a big deal. Are you rich or something?" Her voice had an edge, like she was both jealous and accusatory. Greg leaned forward, his fork paused midair. "Elena, what's Tara talking about?" Marcus touched my arm. "Babe, what's going on?" His voice was soft, but I could hear the confusion. I felt cornered, my secret teetering on the edge of exposure. "It's just some investments," I said, my mouth dry. nothing major. Linda's smile was tight. Investments? That sounds substantial. Why haven't you mentioned this before? Her tone was polite, but her eyes were sharp, like she was calculating something. I mumbled about it being private, but Tara kept scrolling. Holy crap, it says you own 6 properties. That's like millions, right? The room went silent. Marcus stared at me, his hand frozen on mine. Elena, is this true? He asked, his voice low. I wanted to lie, but the truth was spilling out. I own a few properties, yeah. It's not a big deal, Greg snorted. Not a big deal, that's serious money. What else are you hiding? Linda's demeanor shifted. She leaned forward, her voice syrupy. Elena, dear, you've been so quiet about this. We're family. You should have told us. Then she dropped the bomb. You know, Greg and I have been worrying about retirement. Our savings aren't what they used to be. If you've got millions, surely you could help us out. My jaw dropped. Marcus blinked, looking between me and his mother. Mom, what? He said, but Linda kept going. It's only fair. You're married to our son. That money's practically family money. Tara nodded. Yeah, I could use help too. I'm like drowning in debt. I felt like I was in a nightmare. My secret was out, and now my in-laws were circling like vultures. Marcus's face was unreadable, but I could feel his hurt radiating. Elena, he said quietly, why didn't you tell me? I sat there, my heart pounding, as the weight of their expectations crushed me. I wanted to run, but I was trapped, at that table with Linda's fake smile and Tara's greedy stare. Marcus's question, why didn't you tell me? Echoed in my head. I'd kept this secret to protect our marriage, but now it felt like I'd betrayed him. I didn't tell you, I said, my voice shaking, because I didn't want it to change us. I wanted you to love me for me, not for money. Marcus's eyes softened, but there was pain there too. You didn't trust me, he said, not a question. I reached for his hand, but he pulled back slightly, and that small gesture broke something in me. Turning to Linda, I found my voice. I'm sorry you're struggling, but my money isn't a family fund. I worked for every cent, and I'm not obligated to bankroll anyone. My tone was firm, but inside, I was unraveling. Linda's face hardened. That's selfish, Elena. We welcomed you into this family. Greg chimed in. You're sitting on millions while we're scraping. Bye? That's not Christian. Tara, still clutching her phone, muttered. Typical. You're just hoarding it. I stood, my chair scraping the floor. This isn't about hoarding. It's about boundaries. I'm not your ATM. Marcus grabbed my wrist gently. Elena, sit down. Let's talk about this. But I couldn't. The room felt suffocating. I pulled away and walked out, my dress catching on the doorframe as I fled to the porch. Outside, the humid air hit me like a wall. I leaned against the railing, tears burning my eyes. I'd spent years building my empire, sacrificing nights and weekends to prove I could rise above my roots. Now, it was a weapon being used against me. I heard the door creak and Marcus stepped out. Elena, what the hell's going on? He asked, his voice raw. You've been lying to me for years. I wasn't lying, I said, turning to face him. I just didn't tell you everything. I was scared you'd think I was someone else, someone I'm not. He ran a hand through his hair, pacing. You're my wife. I should have known. And now my family's acting like you owe them something, and I don't even know how to defend you because I don't understand you. I told him everything then, how I started with nothing, how I hid my success to avoid judgment, how I planned to tell him when we started a family so we could build a future together. He listened, his face a mix of anger and sadness. You should have trusted me, he said finally, but I get why you didn't. My family, They're not making this easy. We went back inside and I faced them again. I laid it out. My money was mine, earned through my own grit, and I wouldn't be guilted into handouts. Linda tried to interrupt, but I cut her off. If you want help, I can connect you with a financial planner, but don't expect me to write checks. Tara scoffed, but Greg just looked defeated. Marcus backed me up, his voice steady. This is Elena's decision. Respect it. The rest of Easter was a disaster. Linda barely spoke to me, her politeness replaced by icy glares. Greg muttered about entitlement under his breath, and Tara stormed off, slamming doors. Marcus tried to keep the peace, but the damage was done. We left early, the car ride back to Asheville silent except for the hum of the engine. I kept glancing at Marcus, but his eyes stayed on the road. At home, things didn't get better. Marcus was distant, sleeping on the couch that night. He said he needed time to process, not just my wealth, but the fact I'd hidden it. It's not about the money, he said over coffee the next morning. It's about trust. I feel like I don't know you. I tried to explain again, but he just shook his head. I need space, Elena. His family didn't let up. Tara texted me a week later, a long rant about how I was ruining their family by hoarding my wealth. Linda called Marcus, crying, saying I'd humiliated them. Greg even emailed me a budget, outlining how $500,000 would secure their retirement. I ignored them, but the pressure was relentless. Marcus, caught in the middle, started pulling. Away more. He'd come home late, claiming he was grading papers, but I could smell beer on his breath. The worst came a month later. I found a letter from Linda in our mailbox, addressed to Marcus. It accused me of manipulating him, claiming my secrecy proved I was untrustworthy and unfit as a wife. She urged him to protect himself, hinting at divorce. I confronted Marcus, tears streaming down my face. Are you seriously considering this? I asked. He looked exhausted. I don't know, Elena. I love you, but this is a lot. I felt my world crumbling. My in-laws had turned my success into a weapon, and my marriage was collateral damage. I started sleeping poorly, checking my accounts obsessively, paranoid they'd try something. Marcus and I began therapy, but he was guarded, and I could feel the rift growing. 6 months later, I'm still picking up the pieces. Therapy helped Marcus and me start rebuilding trust, but it's slow. He's moved back into our bedroom, and we're talking more, but the ease we once had is gone. I've opened up my finances to him, showing him every property, every dollar. He was stunned, but also proud, which gave me hope. We're working on a plan to use some of the income for our future, maybe a house, maybe kids, but it's fragile. I cut contact with his family. Linda sent a half-hearted apology, but it was clear she still saw me as a cash cow. Tara's blocked me, and Greg's silent. Marcus visits them alone now, and I'm okay with that. I've learned to set boundaries, something I wish I'd done sooner. My biggest regret is not telling Marcus earlier. I thought I was protecting us, but I was building a wall. I've also started being more open about my work. I joined a local real estate group, mentoring young women of color who want to break into the industry. It feels good to own my story, to stop hiding. My portfolio's grown to $6.5 million, and I'm proud of that, even if it came at a cost. Looking back, Easter 2025 was a turning point. It exposed not just my secret, but the fault lines in my marriage and Marcus's family. I don't know if we'll fully recover, but I'm fighting for it. I've learned that wealth isn't just about money. It's about trust, vulnerability, and knowing who's in your corner. For now, I'm focusing on rebuilding, one honest conversation at a time.